When you're designing your first app, it is very important that you save time by leveraging all the available resources on the internet. You can avoid a lot of mistakes if you learn from the other apps during your research process. One of the most useful things ever are open source templates. But what does open source mean? If a file is so-called open source, it basically means that it is available to the public on the internet for free, and you can take this file, edit it, modify it according to your use, and then include it in your own work for commercial purposes. Now, for design and UX inspiration, the coolest place to get open source files and templates is Figma community. And you can access Figma community within Figma itself. You just have to go to the top left corner and select community. Once you enter Figma community, you will have access to all their resources. Every time you're making a component system, make sure you first search for that keyword on Figma community. If you're making input fields, make sure you first go to Figma community and search for input field system. You will find hundreds of files for all kinds of inspiration, both for systems, components, UI, interaction. A lot of things are available for free on the community. All you have to do is select the file, duplicate it, and it will be accessible to you in your Figma account. And then you can edit it and modify it and just take inspiration. But at least you will not have to build things from scratch. You will have some reference, some foundational ground to begin with. Figma community has both files and plugins are going to save you hours in the longer run. I have made a highly resourceful video on some of the most amazing Figma plugins ever. It is uploaded on my YouTube channel, available in both Hindi and in English. Free to watch. I will make sure that I paste the link in description. Please make sure that you check out this video, because if you use these plugins, I can guarantee you that your life is going to be 100 times easier. Iconography is something that takes a lot of time, and for a lot of startups, hiring a specialist for icons is just out of the budget. But there are two open source icon packs that you can very easily use in your apps. There is Remix Icons and Box Icons. Both have an amazing collection of icons and you can use them for free in your application. The best part about these icon packs is that they are readily available on the Figma community. So you don't have to individually import the SVG files in your Figma file. You go to Figma community, duplicate their files. There's a file for box icons. There is a file for remix icons as well. I will paste the link in description. You go to the file, you duplicate it, you publish that library, and then you enable that library in your files. So this will save you a lot of time. On the other hand, both of these icon packs have their own NPM libraries as well, which means that your developers, the front-end developers that are making your app, will find it very easy to import all these icons in just a few clicks. Now for your app and website's typefaces, which is basically the font that you use to read and write, you should absolutely consider using Google Fonts. So when you include Google Fonts in your websites and apps, it becomes very easy to load them. Otherwise, if you upload some very random fonts, the size of your application, the size of your website goes really high, and it takes a lot of time to load properly. You can access all these fonts by going to fonts.google.com. I will put the link in description. But some of my favorite fonts are Inter, Roboto, and Barlow. They're very clean fonts and they work really well in user interfaces. One small tip, please try to use sans serif fonts and not serif fonts when it comes to making UI. So how to detect between sans serif and serif? The word sans means without. So if you see a font that has a lot of edges on the corners, it means that it's a serif font. It is easy to read sans serif fonts on digital displays. So fonts like Inter, Roboto, Barlow, they are sans serif. But when we talk about a font like Times New Roman, these are serif fonts, and serif fonts are recommended for printing materials. So every time you read a book, you will notice that they are always using serif fonts, because it's easy to read serif fonts on printed paper, but it's easier to read sans serif fonts on digital displays. For images and stock videos, there are two websites that are really good. First one is Unsplash. This has a lot of images. Plus, there's also an Unsplash plugin that allows you to access thousands and millions of images within your Figma file. So you don't need to leave your design files to get your images. Second resource is Pexels. This is also very cool because you get both videos and images to use in your prototypes, pitch decks, and app mockups. So you can simply go to Pexels, search what you're looking for, download the image, and then use it in your designs. They're all open source and free to use. Apart from this, here are some very cool resources that will help you improve at your product skills. And overall problem solving skills. The first one is uilearn.com. So when you go to this website, they have this thing called newsletter on the very top. Go through the newsletter and try to read their articles on a regular basis. There is a lot that you can learn from their newsletter. Next, we have uidesigndaily.com that helps you get access to the component files of many websites. So on the right side, you can select the tool that you're working on, and if you're working on Figma, select Figma and you will have a list of components that are made on Figma. So you can learn how they have structured their components, take inspiration, and then implement certain things in your own framework. Third, we have empty states. Now, when you're designing, a lot of designers feel confused about their empty states. This website is going to give you a lot of inspiration because it allows you to take some quick references and then build your own empty states. A lot of new designers forget about empty states. That is why I'm recommending you to check out this resource so that when you start out, you don't get intimidated and you have some resource to take reference from. Last one is a Medium article, which is very powerful. If you spend just a few minutes reading this article, it will really teach you a lot. It is written by one of my favorite authors, Danny Sapio, on Medium. In fact, I would recommend you to follow his Medium publication. He writes really valuable articles on both UI and UX improvements. But this article right here will teach you 47 key lessons that will help you get rid of some very common mistakes that UI designers make when they're just starting out. I hope these free resources give you a head start on designing your first app. I will see you in the next video. This video is from our free course, UX Design for Entrepreneurs and Founders, that will give you the best tips, resources, and a step-by-step plan towards building a team and designing your first app. All videos are in both Hindi and English. You'll find the link to the full course in description.